Bitcoiners and crypto people just have to give people that are not into the markets of crypto a little slack. They just don't understand the nuances quite as much. I mean, if you go ask some, 70-year-old, could you explain the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum? My guess is they're not going to be able to do it. So just people have to just give them a little slack. It'll come over time, and that'll be fine. But right now, absolutely, it's the crypto markets are lumped together as a whole, even though specific crypto people know the difference.
Gareth, when do you see Bitcoin surpassing all-time highs again, and how high could we go this cycle?
Wait a minute, everyone. Welcome to Bitcoin Zella, your platform for daily cryptocurrency analysis and news. Our mission is to keep it simple. Bitcoin Zella offers engaging information that is easy to understand. Our analysts keep their eyes on the latest news to provide valuable insights via email. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Join our community of 10,000 subscribers and experience the new edge with Bitcoin Zella. Subscribe now. Gareth will share his insights on when will it soar past its peak, a look at the potential highs of this cycle, why the crypto community should cut some slack to those outside the market, can the average person distinguish between Bitcoin and Ethereum? Let's join Gareth in this interview about these topics and more.
If/when the Fed does cut rates, what does that mean for Bitcoin?
So ultimately, cheaper money is good for Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's going to drive it up most likely. I think you do have the one scenario that is kind of my black swan event for Bitcoin, which is that if the stock market really came down sharply, like let's say we dropped 20-25% in the markets, then I do think that fear would kind of permeate the crypto industry and we'd see it come down. And let's keep in mind that, and I'll share my screen here and we'll take a look. We should also remember that, a lot of people say, oh, they're not correlated, right? But if we look at the S&P, and this is the S&P topped and made its high over here in basically March. And if we go to Bitcoin's chart, Bitcoin also made its highs in March. So Bitcoin's been kind of going sideways to lower in that period of time. And we've also seen the stock market kind of off of its all-time highs pulling back. So that would be the one case where I would say, oh my goodness, we could head back to 50K, maybe even lower. But taking that out, let's just say the stock market doesn't drop significantly, maybe only 5 to 10% off of its highs, then I think you have to rely on this chart of Bitcoin where, basically we have this channel. This is what we would refer to as a bullish channel because it's coming off of a steep move up. Essentially what's happening here is price is digesting the recent gains, and this is very normal for Bitcoin. And as long as it stays within this lower line of the channel, you would consider this to be bullish and an eventual breakout scenario. So as a technician, remember, I don't want to be, I'm not all bullish all the time or all bearish all the time. It's more like, okay, we're in this channel right now, so I remain neutral to positive on my bias. If we break below it, then I have to reevaluate. And if we break above it, then it's game on, markets, Bitcoin surging to new all-time highs.
Gareth, when do you see Bitcoin surpassing all-time highs again? And how high could we go this cycle?
So I actually think if the stock market doesn't correct significantly, like let's say we just have these low ball corrections of 5 to 10%, then I think later this year you'll make a new all-time high. And I actually think if we do take out the $74,000 high, we actually could be looking at a target of around 100,000. And I'll share my screen in terms of how I come to that conclusion. And so what I want to do here is on the Bitcoin chart, we're going to remove all our lines. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our 2017 peak. And this is just a simple trend line, what I'm going to put in here. But if we take that high and we connect it to the bull market high, so what we're doing here is we're connecting bull market high to bull market high. And then if we just drag it down and drag that line out, what we can see is amazingly that line happens to coexist right around that $100,000 level. So in general, if we do break out above 74,000, I think it honestly climbs relatively quickly within a few months to about the 105,000 level before kind of stalling out for its next pullback. Let me share my screen again and just go over this. So one of the things that I'm really following on this chart is this channel, and I had it on the line before, but what we do is we just connect these highs, we drag a perfectly parallel line down. And so suffice it to say this is that because we're stuck in this range, until we break out of the range one way or the other, this is a range-bound Bitcoin market. It is what it is. It's kind of boring, frankly. But if we break above the 60, looks like right over here around 69,000 level, that's when I think within literally 2 to 4 weeks of breaking 69, that will be will take out the highs. So I can't tell you obviously if it's going to, will we do that in the next, couple months in the summer, or is it going to be later this year? But suffice it to say, when this line breaks, the shorts will have to cover. And so you get a lot of short covering, which will be forced buying. And then the new bulls the bulls will just go nuts over that breakout, in my opinion, especially smart money like the institutional money will be watching this level. But just keep in mind, on the reverse side, as a technician, I have to look at probabilities both ways. What are the risks? Well, if we break below this 56,000 line here, then pretty much within, could be a couple weeks to a month as well, we're probably down to 52,000 and maybe even touching the spot ETF approval high of around 49,000. So again, the best thing I could say is just watch the channel, and whichever way it breaks, that's the way price will go in the near term, and pretty quickly too.
Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki has issued a cautionary statement regarding the possible downfall of the US dollar in the event of the Bryce's economic bloc launching a gold-backed cryptocurrency. Kiyosaki predicts a scenario where trillions of US dollars flood back into the country, leading to hyperinflation and the eventual collapse of the US dollar. Bitcoin exhibits mixed signals across various time frames and technical indicators, presenting a complex landscape for traders. The leading crypto assets price currently stands at $62,792, reflecting a slight increase within the 24-hour range from $60,776 to $63,156. Despite a recent 2% uplift, Bitcoin remains down by 3.6% over the week, showcasing the volatility and uncertainty inherent in the current market.
The market is so addicted at this point to printing money and cheap money that it literally will go up and people will buy stocks and drive the markets higher when things get bad. Now, there will be a pivot point, let's be fair. At a certain point when things get so bad, the markets are going to freak out because they'll think the Federal Reserve is not on point. They're behind the eight ball, if you will, or lagging. And at that point, the stock market will drop. But right now, we've had a very nice move back. S&P is basically within 1% of its all-time highs. If we continue to rally in traditional markets, it's going to keep inflation high. There's the idea that there's a wealth effect. When everyone looks at their 401k, everyone feels richer. They say, oh, I can go out to this fancy restaurant. I can buy this new TV. I can buy this. And the more demand for goods then obviously drives prices of goods higher based on supply and demand. So it is tricky because I think Biden has this kind of messy scenario where he doesn't want the stock market to crash, but at the same time, if it goes higher, then inflation is higher, and then people aren't going to like that either. So in a weird way, I'm kind of in this camp where we could see sideways markets and maybe a little downside, but I don't expect before the election so much downside that it would jeopardize his chances of re-election. But certainly, the inflation side of things has been ugly, and just the fact that it's starting to move up again is kind of scary, frankly.
The classification of Ethereum as a security poses not only risks to the entire crypto market, but it could also likely lead to many crypto teams exiting the space. This designation might hinder progress and potentially reverse years of advancements in the cryptocurrency market. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has likely delayed its decision on Ethereum's status to keep the crypto asset in a gray area. Ethereum presents a complex landscape for traders, characterized by fluctuating prices and diverse market signals. Despite a slight 1% uptick over the past day, the broader perspective shows a week marked by a 6.1% decline, setting a cautious tone for other traders. On-chain Bitcoin analyst Willy Woo predicts that the leading cryptocurrency will reach the $1 million milestone within the next decade. During what he describes as a time to be alive, Woo anticipates witnessing a purge of central bank corruption. However, one of Woo's followers envisions a central bank digital currency, CBDC, not Bitcoin, replacing the US dollar. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.